Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a peace agreement in the war with Russia is 90% ready in a New Year address that largely focused on resistance to Moscow's full-scale invasion. Zelensky says the remaining 10% of the agreement in nearly 4 years of conflict will determine the fate of peace, the fate of Ukraine and Europe. In his own New Year's speech, Russian President Vladimir Putin told his troops that, quote, "We believe in you, in our victory," end quote. Earlier on Wednesday, Moscow also released what it said was evidence of Ukraine using drones to target Putin's private home of Lake Volodal in northwest Russia, allegations Kiev has strenuously denied.
You have taken responsibility to fight for your native land for the truth and justice. Millions of people across Russia, I assure you, are thinking of you on this New Year's Eve, empathizing with you and placing their hopes in you. We are united in sincere, selfless and devoted love for Russia. I congratulate all our fighters and commanders on the coming New Year. We believe in you and in our victory.
We're glad to have you back for an assessment of the latest developments around Ukraine. I'm joined now on the line from London by the author and international affairs analyst, Dr. Marek Laskiewicz. Dr. Marek, glad to have you join me. All right, what do you make of Zelensky's New Year's speech, especially about long-term guarantees for peace for Ukraine? He included USA and Europe and any other nation for that matter. He didn't mention Russia anyway. So what do you make of his speech?
Well, in his speech, yes, he wants security guarantees. But the problem is that these don't actually necessarily amount to much, because he had those in 1994, rather Ukraine had them. Secondly, although USA has improved its offer for security guarantees, it is by no means what President Zelensky wants. But it is a start. It was based on NATO clauses, which unfortunately contains clause 5, which means that USA need not actually implement any military reply at all if it doesn't feel like it.
All right, while all this is going on, just like you're watching on the screen there, Russia is accusing Ukraine of killing at least 24 people, including a child, in a drone strike in a hotel. Ukraine, has earlier accused Russia. What do we call this? What is really happening? Is it Russia trying to get back at Ukraine? Propaganda, you'd say.
Yes, that's right. What has been happening is that the news is constantly full of how Russia is hitting civilians, and now Ukraine has hit civilians, whether intentionally or by inadvertently is not clear. The point is Russia is making full use of this to show it's not just them who end up hitting civilian homes, but Ukraine as well. So yes, this is a measure of PR exercise, although the strike is real.
Okay, back to this question of peace. Ukrainian president says the agreement is 90% ready. What does this imply? What does this mean? How does it rub off, or how will it rub off on Russia and, of course, the entire Europe and US, who is in the thick of action of trying to get iron out this agreement towards its success?
Well, the point about it is that Russia has not agreed at all to this latest peace negotiations which Ukraine and America have carried out. Therefore, what Zelensky means is he's agreed with USA about 90%, and the 10% he's referring to are nothing more, as far as concerned, just 10%, but it isn't. It's about what happens to the territories, the crucial actual element of it. So 90%, I think, is incorrect from the point of view it hasn't covered the territorial aspect, but it's wholly incorrect when you consider that Russia has not remotely agreed to these points. What has happened is he has taken the Russian document and rewritten it so it is what Ukraine wants, albeit with America as the anchor trying to change points which might make them more palatable for President Putin. So therefore, there is no immediate hope that this peace treaty will be accepted by Russia, and it certainly isn't 90% clear on the basis that the key point of what happens to the territory has not been decided, the territory under Russian occupation, that is.
We'll come to the 10%. He talked about the 10%, which is the remaining or remainder of the 90%. But let's talk about Zelensky saying he's ready to call a referendum. He's willing to call a referendum, to bring this plan up for a referendum if Russia agrees to a ceasefire of at least 60 days. Why is referendum being mentioned here?
Because he's constantly under attack by the Russians, who assert that what is happening is he has no democratic mandate for negotiating. Now, what he has done with this referendum is he sidestepped the issue of whether he should remain president or not and merely said the peace treaty would have a referendum. This is a very smart move. However, it's not quite what the Russians had in mind, but there you are. It's a very calculated move to go around this problem. The point about it is that there's no possibility immediately of a ceasefire because Russia has asserted that Ukraine can make better use of it than Russia can. So Russia is not likely to agree to that either. So actually, after all this work done by the Americans, we're not actually very much significantly closer to a peace treaty.
Let's now turn to Russia's Putin's own speech. What do you read into it, especially telling Russian troops that he believes in them and their victory?
He has made it quite clear that if there is no diplomatic solution that he can agree to, which is not basically the territory that he now occupies will become Russian de jure, that is the key point. And the other one is there'll be no Western peacekeeping troops in Ukraine.
All right, looks like we lost connection with Dr. Marek Laskiewicz. Thank you so much. If you can still hear me, Dr. Marek, on the peace agreement being drawn between America, the Europe, and of course Ukraine. It's remaining whether Russia, Putin will agree to that peace agreement.